All right. So, welcome everybody. Welcome, Marta. Today is May 27, 2021. I am Tijen Genco, Master Certified Coach and Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. We are going to have a dialogue with Marta Regalado today about self branding. Marta is a life and well-being coach. And Marta, welcome here. And what would you like us to know about you and your coaching business before we get started?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great.
Like you said, I'm a life and well-being coach. And what I love to do, I love to help women feel more connected and inspired. So, more connected to themselves, to others, and to their surroundings. And when I talk about inspired, I'm referring to tapping into what makes you feel energized and really what makes you feel like you're coming alive or you've come alive. So
Mm.
that's kind of what, the purpose of my coaching is.
Beautiful. So it's a then perfect. You are the perfect person to talk to me about this because we're gonna talk about how people this tool as a tool, coaching tool, helps people to connect to their essence, and that's what your niche is. That is wonderful to hear that, Marta.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, I like that connecting to your essence and really the importance of that and what that can do for you.
Hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. So where would you like to take us to?
Well, I would love to start by having you tell us a little bit of what is a brand called you?
Okay, so the brand called you is a workshop that I developed, and I guess the minute ago I talked about that being a tool. It's in a way that self-awareness tool as well as a communication tool. And what I mean by that is in order for us to understand whether we are as an individual or a business owner, our brand is really more about understanding of who we are or what we produce, what do we want to um, how do we want to express ourselves outwardly in a way so that is understood clearly about who we are. So in a brand called You workshop that I help people to clarify further who they are and clarify their messages, that how they express who they are, maybe even internally as well as externally with confidence. I guess that will be the way I describe it. And maybe I can actually check in with you to see how that resonates with what you understood having to been through that workshop as well as
Yeah.
the teacher training for that. Yeah.
Yes. And as you were speaking, I was thinking for me, when I was taking a brand called You, there was an enormous sense of relief, a
Mm,
relief that I didn't have to be someone else,
mm,
putting myself, online on a website. I could be me. And it was tapping into who I was and offering that, which felt so authentic.
mm,
And it's such a wonderful way to connect with others. And
mm.
so that's what I got out of it and what I loved. And so it sounds like what you're talking about, that self-awareness and that communication tool and really focusing on who we are.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. I'm glad it worked exactly the way I intended then.
Exactly. No, it sure did. It was very, very empowering for me.
Thank you. Glad to hear that. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, what were you observing in the coaching world that prompted you to create this workshop?
Um, Thank you for that question. To be honest with you, when I started the brand called You workshop, my original audience was the employees of a corporation. I was an internal coach then, and what was happening is that the corporations were changing their execution strategies, and they were getting into matrix management as well as more remote work environments and virtual exchanges. So in that environment, I found that as an internal coach, a lot of the employees were become invisible because they didn't have direct managers and face-to-face meetings to show who they are and shine. So I started this as an internal coach, educating the corporate employees to really connect to their core essence, and then how to potentialize that through their corporate positions.
Mhm.
And so when I exited the corporate world, I was doing a lot of coaching for entrepreneurs as well as the people like me who exited their prior career and got into coaching. I was seeing that they were being a bit timid about how to express who they were. They were feeling uneasy. The existing marketing and branding tools didn't communicate to them that well. So I decided that if the people didn't resonate with this, I call it forced marketing, that's some kind of designed marketing tools that gets people to fit into their framework, then I can actually work with people directly to discover what their own tool is and how they're gonna do this. So that's how I actually decided to utilize that communication tool and a training I created for corporate employees to share with the coaches as well as other entrepreneurs.
Mm, that's wonderful. I loved hearing about, the evolution and
Uh-huh.
how it came to be, and how you talk about kind of like this inner tool, like something that it's almost like, the answers are within them. They don't have to go looking out for this, kind of what you refer to this forced marketing, and you're putting yourself in this framework. And I love how you took people who felt either invisible or timid or uneasy, and you allowed them to shine their light. That's very beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I think even for me that I am a private person, that and I don't like the idea that I'll just tell somebody what my company is and they go out and do stuff for me. I want to co-create. I will like to get some help, but not necessarily handing the power about who I am to somebody else. So I thought that then I can partner as the workshop facilitator and a master coach with someone else to figure out who they are, and then they can actually even communicate if they're going to hire another person to do their graphic or something in a much clearer way. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned something very key when you said you're a private person. And I'm a private person as well. And so I've had, a bit of a struggle with that. How much do I talk about myself? You know, what feels comfortable, what doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that a lot of coaches can relate to.
I'm glad. Yeah.
And as you mentioned that, I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit about your personal branding story.
Yeah. So I struggled in my personal branding story because for the longest time that I was hiding the part of me in the corporate world. I am a very strong, scientific based person. At the same time, I'm a very strong esoteric person. I had a lot of studies in the evidence based methodologies for all my credentials. And I also have been trained and have been a practitioner for yoga meditation, Pilates, and other Eastern modalities over 25 years. So, therefore, when I exited the corporate world, even when I was in the corporate world, I was feeling like I needed to hide that part of me, the softer part of me that knew that energy medicine, knew that how movement can help people and meditations can help people. So when I exited, a lot of people around me were telling me, oh, no, no, you have to have a separate website for mind body coaching. You have to have a different website for executive coaching. Do not bring them together. Even for the companies that I sit in the executive coaching bench, they did not want my bio to talk about my Eastern meditation training. So therefore, I was thinking, how can I come out of the closet, bring the both side of me and marry them in a way to make a united front, because that's who I am. And therefore, that I did a lot of self-reflection. I did a lot of self-awakening. I looked in the ways that I can express myself. So that also, that workshop influenced by my own struggles of finding that true authentic Tijen, that who is a strong scientist and strong artist. How can I bring them together and say it in a way that is digestible to anyone who is listening? So that was my story.
That's beautiful. So it sounds like, this marriage, this integration
Mhm.
of these two sides, the scientific and the esoteric, and bringing them together. It really feels like something really came together, very united.
Yes, and you can imagine, Marta, that if I was only expressing one, how can they impede my coaching?
Mhm.
Because that part of me will left behind will be crying through my sessions in one
Yeah.
way or another. And that's what I was also seeing in a lot of the coaches, that the coaching seems to be a secondary or the third career for people, not the first career. And therefore, what I see in people, that they don't want to bring the part of themselves that they exited. It needs to come forward. So there is, as you were sharing with our audience, that needs to be there needs to be an integration taking place. That there is the past part of me, new part of me, the future part of me. Every part of me has to be in there so that our brand is strong and
Yeah.
powerful, right?
Yeah. So really honoring all those different parts of yourself, inviting them in. And it sounds like, you know, it allows for, such richer coaching.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good for oneself and it's good for one's coaching. So it's a value for everyone, it sounds
Yes,
like.
absolutely. Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Um, and so we talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to ask you to, if we can, kind of dig a little bit deeper. So I know that a brand called You talks about really is kind of a deep dive into the individual and who they are at their core, their essence, as you've mentioned. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what is the importance of helping coaches figure out their essence as it pertains to their brand? Is there anything else that you would like to add to this?
Yeah. What I'm sensing as a, again, meditation teacher, I was also years of corporate strategist. Um, if there is a doubt in person that who they are and how they need to show up, it's going to affect the energy that is coming forward. So knowing who they are is going to really connect them to their core, the power, and really our uniqueness is our best tool. that we don't need to, as you know me, Marta, you've been with me for a while, that I don't believe in competition. We can actually, if we choose to, truly honor our authenticity. That already does what needs to be done, right? We don't need to compete another person because nobody is like us. We are unique. So therefore, that if we need to understand and honor that, then that is the most strongest powerful marketing tool there is. And you will also know, as you expressed in the beginning, that you want to help others to connect to their authenticity. Then that's it. You know who you are and you know how you want to help others, and that message then comes clearer. What are your thoughts hearing that?
Yeah. So what comes up for me is really this uniqueness is your superpower. You don't
Yes.
need anything else. You just need what you have inside. And again, what a relief.
Yeah.
I don't have to go out there searching for things. I already have what I need.
Mhm.
And as you talk about the uniqueness and how that kind of that competition that people might feel that need to be competitive, drops away. And there's this quote on competition that I always think about. And I think it goes something like, is it competition? No, comparison is the death of joy. And it's by Mark Twain. And
Mhm.
I always think about that. And I'm like, it's so true. And it affects your energy and how you show up. So
Yes.
I love how you brought that up.
Yeah, thank you. Because I think the competition puts one in a fear zone. And in a fear zone, we cannot be fully self-expressive. We
Hmm.
are protective. So
Hmm.
for one's ability to reach their high potential, full expression of themselves, they need to feel safe. So
Hmm.
then, and also their attention needs to be on what they need to produce. If my attention is divided that, oh my goodness, what about the other person? If are they doing better than me, this, that, the other thing, then I cannot produce with all of me, as we talked about it earlier, right? So instead, yes, we can look outside and get inspirations from what others are doing, but we don't need to see anybody as a threat. That we
Hmm.
can actually inspire, and we get inspired by them. They can be take us as an inspiration, but just focus on you, what you want to do best, and do that well. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important, that need to feel safe. And that's when you're able to fully express yourself
Hmm.
when you have that. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so we talked about this a little bit, like someone who might be feeling invisible, timid, uneasy about putting themselves kind of out there, as people say. What else might a coach be going through before they take the training or the workshop?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I can ask you that question because you were the one that decided to take the training with me, and then even taking the teacher training, it resonated with you. So, would you be comfortable sharing with our audience what made you decide to take on the training? What was happening with you? So that will be more effective than my answer, I think.
Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. Um, I was feeling completely overwhelmed. I couldn't imagine the idea of putting myself, even opening, an Instagram account, having a website, putting up offerings. It felt, overwhelming, daunting. What am I going to say? What mold do I have to fit into? Um, and also, like I mentioned before, I'm a very private person. So I wasn't sure how to, like, did I have to, kind of divulge all this information about my personal life in order for people to feel like they could connect to me? And so I had a little dilemma. I want to honor my privacy, and I want to be able to connect with others. And I had no idea how to do that. So that's what was going on for me.
Yeah, I hear, thank you for sharing that. And I hear there was a self-doubt in that, as well as thinking that I have to express myself within the existing tools out there in order to express myself. How true is that?
Um, yeah, definitely. As if, yes, I had to pick up someone else's tools and fit into their framework in order to make my coaching business work, in order for other people to see my coaching as valuable, instead of just coming from that, that place of kind of inner strength where, it's coming from inside of me. So I don't really need anything that's, any other framework, that doesn't really fit with me anyway.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And like you, I received a lot of requests where I mentor. I deliver coach trainings in various organizations, that I often receive concerns and complaints about my students when the marketing part of the coaching is being taught, that those are delivered by different instructors. And often they deliver a package and in a way that doesn't resonate with a lot of the coaches, because they, like you, wanted to be authentic, and also feels overwhelming all at once, that you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do the other thing. And I think in a way that when people take that brand called you workshop, they also, like you, give themselves permission to
Mm.
use the tools that in the way they want it. If they want to use an Instagram account, they will use and self-express. If they want to use a Facebook account, they will use and self-express. But one doesn't need to be in everything all at once, every time, to really express their brand. I mean, there are so many ideas out there that are almost in a way manipulating the idea of marketing and branding, so that the people that are selling these tools get some sort of clients to comply with how they want to sell the tools. Versus in the Genco method, a brand called you decide, oh, this is the tool I'm going to use. This is the way I'm going to do it. And I'm going to see how it is. If I want to expand, I will expand. So in a way, it gives people, supports their empowerment, and
Mm-hmm.
gives them the permission to decide what they want to do it and how they want to do it.
Yeah. And I love how you're stressing the importance of choice, where
Yes.
the coach gets to decide. They have a choice. They don't have to be on everything. They can choose what feels more fitting for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's nice to be able to get that permission slip, so to speak.
Mm. Yeah, and I wondered, how was that for you? I remember we had that discussion with you about Instagram at some point.
Yeah, so I'm drawn to photography. And
Mm-hmm.
so I chose to open a coaching Instagram account. And it's my way of, also I like connecting one-on-one. And so I'll send someone a DM, or they'll send me a DM, a direct message. And so I enjoy it. On the other hand, there's other platforms I don't enjoy. So I just don't go there. I don't put the pressure on myself that I have to have a Facebook account and I have to have a LinkedIn account. And no, I've chosen what I enjoy the most, and that feels comfortable to me. That feels good.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. What a relief, right? Just to
Yeah,
think, I don't, yeah. Excellent.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so with all these coaches, who are struggling to create a brand for themselves, I'm curious if you can speak to how a brand called you helps kind of a little bit more like specifically. Can you talk a little bit more about the specifics of how it helps?
Yeah, so I designed that training with multiple tools, cognitive behavioral shift tools, as well as creativity tools to connect to the individuals in multiple ways. The first part of the workshop is the guided meditation, which I found very effective because it, in a very gentle and kind environment, that I guide the coaches through a guided meditation journey to connect them to their vision. Because if I often see that people, when they overthink, they cannot get to the envisioning part of themselves. So, in order to bypass that black hat part of themselves, overthinking, linear thinking themselves, to connect them to what they envision, how their big dream is, and how can they connect to that big dream, I guide them through a guided meditation session. So there, they already connect to that part and see the dream clearly without needing to express or have a dialogue with that part of themselves that want to overthink. And then I'll do a workshop where I take them through the concepts, brand of thing concepts, and as well as a self-awakening workshop where they verbalize and understand what their essence is, verbalize in a group environment, and verbalize their essence in relationship to their envision that they connected with through the guided meditation. And then they also understand some of the tools like the Facebook account, Instagram account, LinkedIn account, whatever it is, and how that might show up. And in that part of the workshop, there is a lot of activities built in so that then the participants finding ways to express, finding ways to think through how their branding might work, finding ways to really understand and inquire. And I even give them a post-session questionnaire to collect more data about themselves, how the other people are seeing them.
Mhm.
So that's the second part. And then the third part is the group coaching. So in that part, then people now been through the guided meditation, been through the workshop. Now they come to the group coaching to really shift whatever else might need to be shift for them in a group environment with the people that are experiencing the same challenge. That group coaching will work that way. Then they can see how everybody else is and what they're doing, and also resolve the issue collectively. And then there is also a part of the workshop, the fourth part. Um, People come to that session to actually give elevator speech about their brand. So that also they're starting to express who they are and what their brand is in a safe, supported environment. And sometimes I add mind movies in a way that I create, co-create with them. They create images and send me music and so on, and I'll give them a supportive visual tool to continuously enforce the message even after the workshop, that if they need to. So there are multiple components of the workshop.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds so comprehensive. And I know, I mean, I've experienced it myself. So I know how comprehensive it is from, that point where you have someone who is overthinking, whatever those thoughts might be, and you take them to a place where they can really connect through the meditation to their vision and what it is they want the most. And it sounds like that really opens the door to creativity. And and I love how you say verbalizing their essence and also practicing their elevator speech in a safe environment, because as coaches, we need to communicate what we do, to others, and that there's some difficulty in doing that. And about talking about yourself and your business. So I love how that practice is also incorporated, and the supportive environment.
Mhm.
So it sounds, I mean, I've experienced it. It's amazing. And hearing about it again is so inspiring.
I'm glad. Yeah. And I think that, Marta, you and I both are private persons and a little bit on the shy side, right? So we need to start smaller as we are doing something new. A lot of the coaches are like that, that instead of going out and exposing ourselves in a Facebook account and a whole a website and everything, if we just start to say and collect some information about what we are expressing, it kind of also builds the confidence, like, oh yeah, that was good, and look at this, what I did it. So I thought that will be also helpful. And do you like to speak a little bit more about your personal experience?
Yeah. I love how you said, building the confidence, and you're building it in this very safe space. And for me, I completely agree. I've had to take baby steps. I opened up my Instagram account, I posted one picture and then posted another. And right now I'm currently working on my website. And
Mm.
so, but it has been a journey to get to this point where I feel much more confident about it and I feel ready. I don't feel like I'm being pushed into something that I'm not ready for.
Mm, beautiful.
So I think honoring that pace is very important.
Yes, thank you for sharing that important
Yeah.
insight. Yeah.
Um, so we've talked a little bit about kind of leaving parts of yourself behind, and what the cost of that is. So I'm curious, what is the cost for the coach of branding on a more superficial level?
Mm. Yeah, I think more importantly than anything else, I want to start with is that self betrayal. Because when we say no to our authenticity and try to get ourselves fit in someone else's cookie cutter,
Mhm.
that is very self diminishing. It's going to mute somebody's voice, and it's always going to be bothering the self core energetic centers, that because it's not you, and or it's altered version of you, right? And that is the main cost that
Mhm.
is going to really stay not as powerful. That's going to be that. The other part is that even if we, as a coach, we are, as you know, very skillful listeners and understanders, more than many people. We are trained professional for that. Even with that, we can put our best attention to understand what someone else wants to do. But your marketing professionals aren't equipped with that.
Mhm.
And if you haven't really clarified who you are and what your message is, you are asking someone else to love the best part of you and express that best part of you.
Mhm.
Maybe they can do it, but I think it's going to be a very difficult task because, first of all, your ability to express who you are is going to be limited, and then secondly, their ability to understand what it is to work with you is going to be limited. And therefore, then you are, it's like, you know how people hire a stylist?
Mhm.
I mean, if it works for them, it works for them, but it's the same kind of metaphor that you're having a stylist to style you. But is it you or them or what is it? I don't know. What are your thoughts hearing that?
I love that metaphor. And it's true. You hire a stylist, and all of a sudden, you don't look like yourself. You're unhappy with the way you look, possibly. I mean, you might love it. It's that same idea. If you're not able to communicate what it is, who you are, and what you want,
Mhm.
it's hard for someone else to be able to grasp that. And so I guess, the knowing comes first and then the communicating. And you also mentioned the self betrayal and the self diminishing, which is like, that light that we were talking about before, like helping coaches shine their light, it's like you're putting out that light and it feels so sad.
Yeah. And that's the really core, as we talked earlier, that our main essence in our branding is that core part of ourselves, right? Our main marketing tool is our uniqueness. If we don't if we don't do that, then you're going to be, oh, I have to compete with this, and that's not the case. Your uniqueness, your own beauty is the what's your best marketing essence is,
Ah,
right?
yeah. And it sounds like it puts you very much in your head, and that overthinking that you were talking about that gets in the way of creativity and connection.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Beautifully said, Martha. Connection to you and connection to others. Marketing tool is a connection tool, right?
Yes,
And you're
yes,
starting with a broken tool.
yes, yes. And the client on the other hand, on the other side, or the potential client can tell if it's broken. I think that connection, it goes both ways, what you are, giving and what they're receiving.
Absolutely. And you may also attract the clients that really not what you want,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
If I
But
always hide it, that I did not listen to people telling me that I need to hide esoteric part of me. Interestingly enough, that I get C-level executive clients, and the first thing they want to know is, can I guide them through a meditation? So that's who I want to work with, and that's my truth, and that's what I get. But if I hide certain parts of me, I'm going to get a client that is really probably not going to resonate with me either.
yeah, so it seems like a disservice to yourself and to the client
Yes.
when you aren't forthcoming with who you really are, and
Yeah.
that fit doesn't,
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah. Um, so I'm curious, like, let's say someone has taken, a coach has taken the workshop, they've come to the end of the workshop. What outcome can they expect? What are they going to take with them? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but how would you kind of wrap up what it is that they're going to take with them? I mean, kind of like this little beautiful box.
Yeah, sure. I'll talk about my box, but I want to, again, if you're okay with it, share share your outcome so that the audience can hear directly from somebody who experienced. How is that?
Yeah. Um, so again, there was a lot of relief,
Mhm.
and there was this connection to myself, and really thinking, wow, I am unique. I have something that's truly different to offer, and it feels so good to be grounded
Mhm.
in that. So you're not kind of overthinking and comparing and competing, because you're so grounded in who you are and you feel so good about it. Um, that I just felt a sense of, like, enormous, just inner peace.
Mm. What a beautiful thing. Thank you, Marta. So you're really, this workshop helped you to, as you said it, anchor you into you,
Mhm,
release the external noise, I call it, that generates the
mhm.
self doubt, right? To sell their marketing thing. and then start to feel more confident in who you are to express. Yeah. Mm. That's really my main intention was. But in addition to that, I think that what the participants can take away is their elevator speech. It's written. Take
Mm-hmm.
away that the resolutions that came out of group coaching and maybe good connections with the other people that see who they are. There is a part of that networking as well. Um, there is an ability to further clarify who their vision is, what their mission in life is. There is like a spiritual aspects of that too, that one's uniqueness comes from, also connects to why are we here in this planet and what are we supposed to be doing in this planet. There is that part of that too that comes with it. And then there is also a connection, right? If along the way, that if they feel like, oh, I came to certain progression with my brand and I need more help, they can then connect with me for further coaching or connect with each other, and we can call upon another group session if that's needed. So there is also a, an ability to create support network besides what they have gathered through the workshop.
Yeah. So it's interesting because it sounds like there's, some practical aspects or more tangible aspects like the elevator
Mhm.
speech, the iMovie, that they can take with
Yeah.
them, they can watch, they can, kind of practice their elevator speech. But also there's this, what you mentioned, kind of how does this fit into your mission in life?
Mhm.
How, what's, the greater purpose here? And also, doing all of this and feeling really supported by you and by the other coaches who are going through something similar. So it helps you feel like you're not alone.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that beautiful summary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, kind of, our last question wrapping up. If you were to go back and give yourself, like, let's say when you first started creating your coaching brand, and you were to go back and give yourself a piece of advice, what
Mhm.
would that be?
I think that as I shared that I struggled listening to others that, oh, don't bring the parts of you together and so on. I would say just be you. And I think that in a way I was being me, but I also put a lot of pressure in me, that I was expecting me to break through the cultural norms too quickly, too fast, to fully
Mm,
express my unique both sides, which is
mhm.
not necessarily often the case to have somebody with very scientific mind and a very esoteric mind. So I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to be able to successfully be me, but without recognizing I was pioneering an idea that was not there.
Yeah.
So I would say that, come on, Tijen, be more compassionate. You are pioneering something, my dear. So take it easy. And that was
Mhm.
hard because I didn't have a role model. I didn't have, my mentor was very left brained and she couldn't guide me into this. And remember, I also had 20 some years of corporate background. So I was like giving myself some permission to do something. So I needed to be more compassionate. Yeah. And I would give that to everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And as a pioneer in this, it sounds like that compassion or self compassion in this case was what allowed you to slow down and kind
Yeah.
of release those expectations.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's something I think we can all take with us, the importance of self-compassion and kind of meeting yourself where you are and knowing that it's okay to be exactly where you are and move at the pace that's right for you.
Yes. And looks like, as I heard you, you were very self compassionate towards you. You did this in the pace that was okay for you. So kudos to you as well.
Thank you. I hadn't realized that, but thank you. Yes, it's definitely a journey. And it's a practice. Self-compassion is a practice.
Yes.
So thank you for noticing that.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is there anything else that you would want people to know about a brand called you?
Um, I'm thinking, let me do the same thing again. I'll ask you first. Was there an aspect that really resonated with you, or we haven't really touched upon in this conversation that you like our viewers to know from your experience perspective?
Um, I think in general, it was just such an informing experience, and it just felt like I was given, permission to be who I was, to honor who I was, and express it. And
Mm,
that's all I had to do. I didn't have to do more than that. And it was a gift.
mm,
It was a gift that just released so many expectations, so much of the overthinking, so much of you called it kind of that inner or the outer voices,
mm. Yeah.
kind of not worrying about that. So I would describe it as a gift
Mm,
that you move forward with in such an integrated way.
mm. Beautiful. And I'm wondering, before again I respond to that, Marta, you have very creative ideas about utilizing this workshop as a person who's trained to deliver it as well. Would you like to speak about that creative aspects and other utilization for our audience to know?
Yeah, what I would love to integrate, as someone who can teach the workshop or give the workshop or facilitate the workshop, um, bringing in photography,
Mm,
taking pictures, having coaches go out there and take pictures of what is most important to them. So they have it in this image, they have in their image their values, or they can take pictures of their strengths. They can create a vision board of what's most important to them, and you also mentioned the movie. So just bringing in these creative aspects, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, photography. If someone's a musician, they can compose a song. If
mm,
someone's a writer, they can write a poem, whatever feels fitting for them, and just expressing themselves through this creative form.
Beautiful. Thank you for that share. And I also then add to that idea that this workshop can be applicable for anybody. It doesn't have to be a coach. Even if you are not working and not doing anything, but not necessarily sure about where you belong in your family, where you belong in life, it is helpful because then you come and figure out who you are and how to express yourself, whether you are an employee, whether you are a mother, whether you are, a young teenager, whether you are wanting to reestablish yourself after a loss, such as a change in job, change in marital status, whatever it is, that sometimes we just need to rebrand ourselves
Mhm.
to get on with the next part of the life, right? So it can be anybody can really benefit from this workshop in any walks in life.
Yeah, and I love how you bring that up. How it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be just for coaches. It can be for anyone, and how anyone can benefit, and it can serve as that anchor in their life to kind
Absolutely.
of bring them home to themselves.
Yes, beautifully said. Bringing home to themselves. Yes. Yeah, and its applications are quite a lot. And yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's wonderful. I can't tell you how much I have enjoyed the opportunity of interviewing you, and also within the interview, having you interview me. It's been wonderful, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Marta. I appreciate you sharing your time and creativity with me to co create this informative session. And I want to thank you as well for your questions and your sharing, heartfelt sharings. And I want to also, for the viewers, if they like to find you, how will they find you?
Sure. I right now my Instagram account is Marta Regalado Coach, and my website is currently under construction, which is going to be martaregalado.com.
Beautiful. And do you want to talk about your services so they will be informed as they look for you?
Yeah. So I kind of have my main service, which is kind of what I was mentioning at the beginning, where I help people feel more connected and inspired and really discover their strengths,
Mhm.
align with their values, and find greater purpose in life. And I'm kind of experimenting with a new niche, and it's with coaches. And it's helping coaches find their voice, clarify their messaging, and write their websites. So there's an alignment between who they are and how they communicate that to others that helps them connect to their ideal client.
Beautiful. Thank you for that share, Marta.
Thank you for asking.
And I think one more thing will be helpful for the viewers to know that I don't always offer the brand called You workshop. Right now, it's not under the upcoming events as we record this in Genco Coaching website. But there are forms that people can fill out to be informed about whenever I will offer the course next. They are normally listed under upcoming events at gencocoaching.com. And thank you so much, Marta. It's been a pleasure to have you in this platform, and hope
Thank you.
everybody enjoyed this beautiful conversation we had.